So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Today's panel discussion focuses on harnessing tech for CSR and societal transformation here in Nepal. As businesses increase technology into their operations, increasingly include technology into their operations, the potential to have more impactful CSR initiatives has grown significantly. Tech offers tools like digital payment, AI, and data analytics to make CSR efforts more efficient, transparent, and inclusive. Rural communities often face challenges like limited access to education, healthcare, and sustainable infrastructure. Tech can bridge these gaps, foster development, and empower marginalized populations. By combining CSR with tech, we can address pressing issues while promoting ethical, inclusive, and sustainable growth. So today we're going to have these four gentlemen. I've got some questions that I prepared for them for our discussion. And we'll begin with Mr. Neelesh Man Singh Pradhan. And my first question for you, Neelesh, is how can Nepal Clearinghouse leverage digital payment platforms to enhance transparency and efficiency in CSR projects, particularly for NGOs and social enterprises working on the ground in education and healthcare?
Thank you very much. Thank you to the organizer for inviting us in this wonderful panel, a different topic, different sense of being here in this session, talking about the technology and the CSR. So what NCHL as a Nepal Clearinghouse Limited is doing in terms of using a technology for CSR. When we talk about CSR or a liability transfer kind of a services that any of the development agencies or the government or the semi-government entities are doing. So if it is to, there are two factors. One is the transparency in terms of the sourcing of the funds, disbursement, how these funds are being dispersed or the services are being dispersed to the beneficiary, and the traceability or the auditability of these sources which has been transferred to one is the transparency, and second is the access for the donor agencies or the servicing agency, plus the access by the beneficiaries on the digital instruments of the digital platform is what is important, we feel. So where do we stand in terms of the technology readiness for creating that transparency and access for the beneficiary? I would like to refer to one of the use case that we have done. In 2022-23, we took an initiative with the government of Nepal for disbursement of their social security disbursement. There are around 3.8 million beneficiaries to whom the government has to transfer the liabilities, including their pension or the subsidies or some kind of the allowances that are actually provided to by the government of Nepal. So there is a requirement of a large-scale platform for sourcing from the central government, and these disbursements are actually made by this local government, 753 local agencies. So we made that technology available. Along with the technology, we also ensured that the beneficiaries or the ultimate beneficiaries are rightly identified and they have an access to some form of a digital instrument to receive those funds. So what we have done in 2022-23, we started as a pilot with some of the local agencies, but in 2023-24, in the last fiscal year, we were able to push entire 3.7 million beneficiaries disbursement of the government social security directly into the bank account of the beneficiaries. So the actual transaction initiation was from the local government using their own system called as Sutra, and the process by the central government system, which is the role of the FCGO per se, and the infrastructure, the NCHL and the bank's infrastructure is actually used. So the benefit was that 3 points, or the impact that it actually created was 3.7 million beneficiaries, disbursement of around 97 billion Nepali rupee equivalent of budget that was dispersed, And the savings that it created, nothing was actually done. Around 4 billion Nepali rupee equivalent of budget was actually saved just because the manual social security disbursement was replaced with the digital payment transformation. So there may be some kind of an account or the beneficiary validation, or there could be a few number of ghost beneficiaries also removed from the process. So the impact that the technology or the digital technology that can actually create in terms of the government social security disbursement can easily be replicated in any other form of the CSR that any other agencies are actually are looking forward for. So from the perspective of technology, some of the agencies, the international agencies, NGOs, INGOs, they're already using it. But from the infrastructure perspective, the depth of the infrastructure is already available right here in Nepal to support large-scale CSR activities. And that's what I would like to start with. Thank you.
Thank you. As kind of a follow-up to that, you talked about allowances being paid by the local government, digitally paid by the local governments. I'm assuming allowances, you're talking like Social Security as well as the single woman's
allowances,
single
woman allowances.
Okay. So my question there is, what kind of concerns do we have where there are many who are receiving those benefits who are not only digitally illiterate, but illiterate?
Right.
So how does that affect? You understand?
So from the infrastructure perspective, the beneficiaries, even if we look into the numbers, access to bank account, and then the non-bank formal financial, like the cooperative, the microfinance, or even now the prevalent is the wallet systems as well. So even though people are illiterate, almost 75 to 80% of the beneficiaries are actually covered by the bank or the semi-formal banking system or the wallet systems. So how does our system or the current infrastructure that is available in the Nepal is, these are all integrated now. So if we are talking about the Nepal Clearing House Limited, we are not just connected with the banks. It is connected with almost all the major wallet companies and even indirectly with the microfinances and the cooperatives as well recently. So if the beneficiaries are having some form of access to the banking or the non-banking formal channel, including banks, wallets, cooperatives, or the microfinances, these are all within the network. So from a technology perspective and from if we are to really go for the transparency and access to those digital financial services, the digitally disbursed benefits, it can be the government benefit or it can be any other CSR related initiatives. It has to be or it can go through the current technology platforms. This is right now happening, and it just needs the scaling it up, and the engagement of some of the other agencies as well within the ecosystem is what needs to be worked upon.
Okay. So another question that I prepared for you was, what strategies are being adopted to address risks like data breaches and fraud in CSR-related digital transactions to ensure the trust and security?
Okay. I believe that this is not just related to CSR-related initiatives. When we are talking about the large-scale infrastructure, even the very smaller payment systems, the security, the fraud-related risk controls, these are the basic necessity or the basic foundation of any digital infrastructure which has to be there, whether that's for CSR or for any other individual transactions, business or the government transactions. So this has to be there. But when we are talking about the people or the beneficiary who are sitting at the bottom of the strata, there is a highly likelihood or the possibility that their personal information may be disclosed or maybe misused as well. So in that front, the infrastructure, the payments or the digital technology that are currently in use in Nepal, they are investing heavily. One is they are regulated entities, just like the banks, most of these entities are regulated either by the central bank or in some of the other cases by some other departments as well. So one is the regulated entities are actually building these infrastructures, and there is lots of regulatory mandates and the international benchmarks associated with the payments of the digital infrastructure, which most of the institutions, whether that we talk about the ISO 27000 or PCI DSS for the cards or any other standard, and even the central bank keeps coming up with the specific security guidelines as well. These are mandated regulatory compliance requirements, which most of them are following. So I believe that just like any other business of the individual transactions, CSR related initiatives, if driven through the technology, these are well covered, at least from the financial disbursement perspective. So these can be taken forward going forward. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So now I'd like to address Umesh. Umesh, how can AI and machine learning technologies enhance the impact of CSR projects in rural healthcare, such as telemedicine or predictive diagnostics?
Thank you. First of all, I'm very happy to be here with the distinguished panelists and the distinguished guest here. And I'm very happy in that. Obviously, first of all, I'm a little bit confused, about how to define the CSR. But in my perspective, how do I define it as it's just something? There are two things. One is the CSR, which will be giving the monetized value to the customer. I mean, to the end users, no? And another one is something like services. Just giving a services who are living at the doorstep, I mean the urban area of the country, that is also a kind of the CSR, what I do consider. And the CSR is something which is not just born today, right? It's something happened maybe 50 and 60 years back when the technology was not there and the technology was very in infant stage kind of things. The technology that we have today, right? And so what we should understand is these sort of things is in life since I think the century as well, no? Okay, let's come to the technology now. The thing were happening, still happening, but now we are trying to look at the effect of the technology, right? Just like you were giving me the use case of the healthcare. Obviously, there are a lot of facets. Out of that, I'm talking something about the health. Obviously, health factor is one of the major, the points in the, in CSR. Previously, there was a, the CSR incentives, to the people living in the, outskirts, I mean the urban area. And let's talk about how the technology is helping now. Obviously, technology is helping a lot, Now, okay, let's talk about, everybody talks about the AI, then let's see these things through the AI perspective. What we know, what's the AI? AI is something, which doesn't collect the data only, and it evaluates the data, and it doesn't only evaluates, the technology right now we have is also evaluating the data. But the main, the benefit of the AI is it evaluates, it gives the, the format, how the data is well represented. It represents the, how I'm thinking kind of things, my habit, my behavior, it gives the pattern kind of things. So with the advent of the, the technology, one is with using the technology, we can create a kind of transparency, in the way of giving the benefit out of CSR to the end users. And another thing is, to give the sustained development, I mean the sustained services to the customer. Let's take an example of the healthcare. There is the telemedicine kind of things. Today is also, that is there, but today, using the AI, what benefit we are getting now is, so once we have a data, suppose we have a data now, okay? If we don't have a data, we cannot think about the AI. Once we have a data, then based upon that data, we can give the, the quality, the quality kind of the services to the customers. Suppose we have the data, we go to the, the outskirts area, I mean the urban area, there we can check the pattern, I mean the disease pattern. Let's take example, disease pattern. How is the disease pattern? And based upon the disease patterns, the government can take the medicines to there, and the government can take, the health assistant and the doctors to there, so that we can give them the better sustain, the health services to the people, to the poor people, to the unprivileged people, in that area. So what I think is, obviously, the technology is making it very easier. It's making the, sustain. It's making the full of quality. And the basic thing is, we can now, with the use of AI and the machine learning, whatever we call, and that is making more and more possible to give the health related, as we're talking now. You gave me the use case, and based upon that, now we are able to give them the sustain services kind of things. So the role of AI, the role of, the machine learning, is a pivotal, the what I think, based upon that, and our society, our government, our all the institutions are able to provide that sort of the CR initiative to the urban area, I mean, the outskirts area. Thank you.
So moving a little bit beyond just the idea of healthcare, what steps can info developers take to expand Nepal's digital infrastructure sustainability while ensuring digital equity and accessibility for all, enabling technology-driven CSR projects in those underserved areas?
Yeah, okay. Now we are talking about the digital infrastructure. And the digital infrastructure means, the bandwidth, I mean the broadband, okay, that is spreading in the nooks and corners of the country. And when we give the services, we should be very careful about the, the level of the, the digital infrastructure that is having in the villages kind of things. Now, so to give a sustained service, I mean, to give the, to deliver the sustained, the CSR initiatives, CSR facilities to the end users in the rural areas, we must make such a system which should be more sustained, okay, which should be cost effective, and which should be, consume the, the very low level of, the bandwidth kind of things. That's another. That's one. Another is suppose some company is going to give the CSR facility, to the end users. Then again, this should, as I talked earlier, this should be. We must have some kind of, the software. We must have some kind of services, and those services has to be made in such way that, as I told earlier, that should be able to give the services to the customers, in a very lower bandwidth, that should be cost effective, and that kind of things, So if that's the one point, and another point is, it's like we do, the data analysis kind of things. Based upon that, then we give services, to the end user. So what I think is, whatever services and whatever software, we give to the customer, and that should be more sustained. That should be cost effective. Okay, I'm going to give you one example. Just like my company works in the cooperative and the microfinance, right? And we are giving the services to the, not in the urban area, but in giving service to the outskirts area, in urban area. There people doesn't know about the, the technology itself, no? So where there, what we do is, we make a system, simple system, sustained kind of system, and that system should be, as we now using the AI, we can do the predictive, we can give the predictive kind of things, and again we can give the, to the illiterate people, just like now AI make it very easier to multilingual, the kind of services, so that our, the illiterate, the Nepalese people are very able. The poor illiterate people are very easy. It's very easy for them, to understand the services. Otherwise, what would happen previously, there was everything written in English. Now it's possible, it's possible, to let them to know, whatever contents in the Nepal. So these are the things, and these are the things, which will be giving the very lightweight services to the end users. And if that works fine, if that works fine, it's just like it's just like a highway kind of things, And based upon that, our different banks, and the hospitals, and any, the insurance companies, then all will be able, to provide the sustained the the CSR services, to the poor people who are living in the, the urban area. I think this is how, my company is working, and this is how the other company in Nepal are working, so that to make it possible. Thank you.
So one of the things that you mentioned was throttled, if I'll call it throttled bandwidth,
Yeah.
for the rural areas. So with the ever increasing reliance on technology and with the ideas of using technology in these CSR projects, wouldn't that throttled bandwidth ultimately be a hindrance to sustainable projects because it wouldn't be enough?
Yeah, no, it's one of the factors that I'm talking about, no? Not only the bandwidth. Bandwidth is a major issue. That will be is related with the digital infrastructure. I talked about the multilingual kind of things. Then I talked about the predictable kind of things, like in the case of the health sector, in health, and if you have data and if we using the AI, then it will be possible to predict now when the disease will occur. Just like just a moment before I gone through the magazine. Then what I found is the breast cancer is something. It's very it's now it has turned to be the predictable kind of things. These sort of things. If we have, and if we can take to, with that one, if we get took to the rural areas, then our vision taking the CSR in more sustained way and more cost effective, the less effective and more secure kind of things. Obviously security is also are there, as you're saying now, whatever services all should be well secured, it should be certified, it should be well tested. Maybe we have to do, the kind of certifications, ISO kind of certifications. Obviously, there is some categories that will be dealing on, those kind of things. I mean that.
Okay, thank you. All right, so now let's move to Rupesh. Rupesh, my first question for you is, and I'll mispronounce your company's name, I was told. Zuno. So I was correct. All right, so how can Zuno facilitate CSR initiatives in Nepal by enabling seamless digital payments that support education, healthcare, and environmental projects in rural areas?
Okay, thank you, Mike. Thank you very much for the question. I'll be answering that question in two parts. First, I'll be putting on my academician hat, because in my previous life, I was with Kathmandu University. And in the second part, I will tag along the technology and Zuno as to how we can address the CSR aspect. So the thing is, I do see corporate leaders who are in the position to really rally their CSR strategies to move forward. But one thing is, we need to be very clear when it comes to CSR is, we should not be ritualizing CSR in the name of CSR, because we need to do it. The regulation says we need to do it, or some organization would probably do it because they believe in what they are doing. So when we are looking at CSR in the crossroads of digitization and technological advances, it's a double-edged sword. If you look at it, technology enables economies and societies, but at the same time, it also creates a huge divide that leaves a lot of people behind. So what happens is our traditional understanding of CSR about, okay, rural Nepal, education, health, we need to reach out, cultural aspect, all those things do strike our mind. But at the same time, what happens is, how about the services that your company or the products your company is producing and serving the customers? Are you also leaving them behind because you are digitizing your services? That's a big question we need to ask. For example, if you look at a bank getting digitization, like what Neelesh was just mentioning a while back, big payments, huge number of payments can be processed easily where if it would have taken months to process it manually, can be done within days. Yes, that's a big event, right? But at the same time, if you look at it, the people, there is a huge population that gets left behind because of the digitization, because they've not been able to onboard into the digital platform because of their own backgrounds and stuff. So a bank, as a CSR, you need to look into, okay, who are these people who have been left behind? How can technology and the digitization bridge this gap? Because just going out and doing the traditional CSR does not cut it off anymore. Because like it or not, it's not only just Nepal. Globally, if you look at it, the advent of technology, especially the Gen AI that is coming about, the computing power that is quad computing power that is coming up, it's going to lay off a lot of people. Even Google recently, last week, has laid off 10% of its workforce. So it's not only just from a CSR perspective when you're looking at digitization. Even from the economy perspective, we really need to look at how is this digitization, this technology really going to disrupt. Yes, it makes life a lot more easier, but at the same time, it is also going to do a lot of disruption. So if you look at from a CSR perspective, what can your organization do by adopting technologies? For example, I was having a conversation with one of my professor friends from US, and he was engaged in a project where because of digitization, there's been even a bigger wide difference between micro enterprises and their competitiveness in the market. So he was doing this project in Kerala. And we were just bouncing off ideas and saying, okay, how can we really put the micro entrepreneurs more competitive? The challenge is, okay, one, they're already underprivileged. They have to be competitive enough in the regional market. Two, their access to finance is less. That can be taken care of. The biggest part is their knowledge of how do you run a micro enterprise is the biggest lack. And on top of it, if you look at it, the women micro entrepreneurs are more in disadvantage because their learning capacity gets delayed because they have to be engaged in household chores as well. So how do you accelerate their learning? That was the discussion we were having. And the thing is, they cannot read and write. Is technology a possibility? And I was giving him an example of this viral video that was in TikTok and Facebook, where this old lady in one of the villages was having a good conversation with ChatGPT. So she was speaking on her smartphone, asking questions, and ChatGPT was replying in Nepali, very fluent in Nepali. So I was like, can we come up with some kind of solution where with Gen AI, we can embed learning where, because they don't have the opportunities. If you look at micro entrepreneurs, they don't have the luxury to go learn and then do business because it's their survival that's in line. So they have to do and learn and better themselves. So can technology be an advent to bridge that gap? Definitely it can be. So this might be some kind of CSR a bank can do, right? Where obviously access to finance is there. There's a portfolio that you need to, a portfolio of loans that you need to disperse to micro enterprises and the underprivileged loans. Can you come up with some technological innovation where this can be facilitated? Because giving out money is the easy part, but making sure that the money that has been given really does what it is supposed to do, not only from a business sense only, but also from a CSR aspect, is very important. Now coming back to like, okay, how can Zuno be a part of digitization and taking the CSR forward, right? So if you look at cross-border payments, because that's what we are in at the moment. So if you look at Nepal's economy, anyway, it hovers around, the remittances that comes into the country contributes around about 35 to 40 ballpark figure to our GDP. So if you look at it, about 11 billion dollars, if I'm not mistaken, is our remittance money that comes annually. And if you look at the processing fees that is incurred while these remittances come into our country is almost anywhere from 1 to 5%. So that's almost, if you look at the fees that our remitters are paying, the forex charges that they have been charged, if you look at it, that contributes almost about 1 to 1.5% of our GDP. Can you imagine? So Zuno, in this aspect, what we are trying to do is how can we lower that fees? How can we lower that forex so that the ones who have earned that hard dollars, when they are remitting it back to the country, their family has more money to spend, where they can invest that in education, they can invest in their house, they can invest in the healthcare, because at the end of the day, what really transforms the society is not only that CSR aspect, but how much more can you put in their plate so that they can make their own decision is more important. Government doing, sending money as benefits, obviously it counts one, but at the same time, if you look at larger population, they are working and remitting money. So in that aspect, Zuno is looking into it. And another thing that I want to highlight, Mike, while I'm at it is, the corporates at this point in time needs to look a little bit beyond CSR. CSR has been a concept for a long period of time. But if you really look at it, Nepal being in a very fragile environment condition, we need to really start looking at it from the ESG strategy perspective. What is your company doing in regards to the environmental crisis that we are seeing? I'm sure most of you guys in your Facebook this week must have seen the naked Machapuchre mountain, which is completely black. In our lifetime, we've seen Machapuchre at this time of the year completely white. Why is it black? That too in a winter December. The thing is, climate change is a reality. What is your company doing about it? Are we addressing that issue? We're talking about health, we're talking about education, we're talking about social benefits. But what are we doing in relation with environment? The social aspect is already there in your ESG strategy, and the governance aspect as well, which always takes a big toll, right? So in the CSR meet that we are having, the corporate social responsibility meet, I would encourage the leaders of the corporate world to also go back to your drawing boards in your offices and talk about what is it that we have done in the environment side, because this is something that's very close to Zuno. When we're talking about CSR, we just don't look at it from a CSR perspective. We also look at it from an environmental perspective, because climate change is something that is coming to a reality within our lifetime. So are we going to do something about it? And definitely, technology can enable it. Technology has brought about these changes, but it has also given us an opportunity as to how we can be more energy efficient. How can we address these issues by leveraging technology as well? So I rest my case. Back to you, Mike.
All right, thank you. So we're going to move to Amit, because I've just been notified we're a little shy on time. So Amit, I think I'll go with the question that I initially prepared for you for your second question. How can Kalti contribute to building a more inclusive and equitable digital financial ecosystem in Nepal? One that would ensure marginalized communities have access to and can benefit from digital financial services thereby empowering them to participate in and to contribute to sustainable development?
Thank you, Mehdi, for the question. I think there are multiple ways in which wallets like Khalti and others are contributing already and can contribute more. So if you see the financial ecosystem, earlier it was banks, which is brick and mortar, and it works 8 hours a day, right? And you have to physically go there for a lot of services. But with the growth of internet and smartphones, now the banking is in the hands of every individual. I know we have not been able to serve the ones who do not have access to internet or are still using featured phones, but at least a larger mass now has the access, or at least one person in the house has the smartphone. So it indirectly contributes in a lot of way to different aspects. For example, if you talk about environment, we save a lot of paper, a lot of them. Be it flight tickets, be it movie tickets, be it many things, event tickets, a lot of them is saved. Be it recharge cards or the scratch thing, a lot of logistics, a lot of warehousing, a lot of those are saved. If you talk about the road traffic, had there not been digital payments like NCHL or Khalti, I can't imagine Kathmandu traffic without, a capital city of a country without a single flyover, right? Or a larger metro or anything, right? It would have not been possible. If you talk about transparency, auditability, traceability, minimizing corruption, see, all those things are creating impact, right? And if you talk about the economic revolution, so earlier, like if someone does a deal today evening, they have to wait until the bank opens next day, and Sunday, if you go to bank 10 a.m., there used to be long queues. But now when, like, a lot of us might not remember when we last visited our bank, right? Or even if we go, we don't see that rush. Like in some departments, it might be there. So the road traffic and everything is connected. And so now if I do a deal in the evening, I can transfer the funds at the same time, and next morning I can start my work. Otherwise, the first thing the corporates, the employees used to come to office, and the first thing they had to go was to go to the bank with the checks or with all those things. So there is a lot of connection. Again, talking about the underserved or the less served, so women empowerment, if you see, that's a big use case, because in Nepal, there was a stereotype that women are not into investments or payments and all those things. Even for a girl to get a recharge card after sunset, it would be very difficult. Like if she wanted to go out to buy a recharge card, she would have to answer her brother or her dad that, why do you even need a recharge card? Whom are you going to talk to? Right? But now they can do it, it's at their fingertips, right? At any time, anywhere, right? So there are a lot of things, and like Neelesh already mentioned, they are doing great work in disbursement, especially with the government disbursement. Similarly, wallets are also doing disbursement for a lot of NGOs, INGOs. There are places in our country where even if I transfer money to the bank account, the person to get the money will have to spend 2 to 3 hours to reach the bank and get that money, right? And then after collecting the money, way back to the home, they have the security risks. They have the risks of being looted. So we have done such kind of disbursement where, the money could go to the wallet directly, and then we have also have assisted model where the nearby shop could assist the person for the cash out or for the payments. So we have more than, I think, 125,000 active authorized representatives who act as our agents to empower people who cannot use wallets themselves to pay their electricity bill, to pay their, government taxes and a lot of other things, right? So we are serving the marginalized and the underserved in that way. Especially for the females, we started this Smart Chori campaign. Chori means daughter. So this was targeted at females, where we empowered young women aged 15 to 35 We do trainings for them. We teach them about online security, about digital financial services, about payments, and how they can, earn money through this. And then they can onboard their sisters and mothers, and in that way, it is adding to the financial inclusion for the underserved. So if I talk about it, I can go on for hours and hours, and I know with respect to time, I should stop here. But like technology and wallets, yes, they have, and they have been contributing a lot for the impact in the
Yes.
country.
Yes, they have. Thank you. All right. Thank you, everyone.